me just do the normal thing. Sorry, I'm not used to standing here, but I forgot to greet, even though he's not here. Yesterday he told us he wasn't going to be around. The senior pastor, the team of pastors, and the council of elders that allowed this 1 week. At least it will help the health workers, people that work in health in church, to do their ministry in church, and then a lot of us will benefit. So the objectives of this my talk, I've been given 30 minutes and I have 30 slides. So I'm going to calculate 1 minute per slide. Okay, so by the time we finish this talk, we will have wanted you to go home with an overview of how infection is transmitted, and then how we can use infection prevention to stop, or how we can prevent the infection. I will give you practical tips. I'm hoping that we can just go on and be giving practical tips. And then we have a lot of myths and wrong practices as Christians. I hope that those things will be dispelled. And then we're hoping that we will stimulate ourselves and us as a body, as a group, to be concerned about our state of health and hygiene, and then take responsibility. Our responsibility, our task is to tell someone, your family member, no, don't do this, this will cause infection, or to search for more truths, because this is just general. There are many, many in-depth things that we need to know when we're talking of hygiene. And there are so many specialized areas. There is eye hygiene, menstrual hygiene, so many areas of hygiene, and I'm not taking those areas. So it's just a general outlook. So I hope that we will be stimulated to go and search, and then to practice what we've learned, and then to demand from people of authority for better situations or better environments. Can you still hear me? All right. So can we... All right. I was just asked if I could mix it with Hausa. In Afara, Dabulamuku Hausa, you think I'm speaking Idoma, so pardon me. Please pardon me. All right. But there will be a lot of pictures, and I hope we will follow. With the pictures, you can tell a story. And if somebody needs to know something in Hausa by you, just please explain. All right. So this is what we're going to follow. We're going to follow just the general overview, what infections are, what organisms are infectious, how are they transmitted, and then the common causes of ill health in Nigeria, and then our parts, what personal hygiene can do, family hygiene, hygiene in public places and in the church, and then we'll try and conclude. All right, we will start with a basic premise. I want to assume that we are all intelligent people and we're seeking for the best for ourselves and best for our families, right? Yes. So, except abnormal, maybe some few Nigerian politicians, most of us want the best for our communities. Then we also is that our ignorance will not excuse us from getting infections. And that's what Professor Ramil said yesterday. Even if you say, I don't know, that doesn't stop bacteria from infecting you. And then health practitioners and health practice. And when I say health practitioners, they could be the nurses, community health workers, the investigators, those ones that are in the lab, the ones that are in radiology, the doctors. And then one group that we always forget are those ones that are part of the sanitary team, what we call cleaners, the cleaning officials. They are actually frontline in the health team. Then there's this concept called One Health. One Health, now the world is moving to make sure that for us as human beings to be safe, animals have to be safe, and our planet has to be safe. So One Health concept is we keep humans safe, we keep animals safe for them to live with us and for us to eat them, and then our environment should be safe. That's why a vet doctor or vet practitioners are very important. So they also form part of the health team. Once they keep an animal safe, like dogs, you won't get rabies, right? Dogs also give scabies. They also give tinea. That's all this procro, all this ringworm. So once you have the vet doing the right thing, we'll all be healthy. So that's the health team. This health team are not opposed to spiritual truths. Please, when we used to see particularly Christians when they come to consult, and you say, oh, they think you have maybe a liver infection. They'll say, God forbid, I send it back to sender. The doctor or the nurse is not against spiritual truth. All truth is one. You understand? Somebody just told me last week that she's not a health worker, but she's friends with a health worker. That a patient she sent to a doctor, the girl has convulsions. So the doctor said, your child has epilepsy. She said, I rejected in front of the doctor. So this lady now asked, what did that doctor tell you? He said, the doctor said it's him and his generation that have epilepsy. So the doctor is not against spiritual truth and is not against your being healthy. It's just that we're in the physical world and we have to find the physical facts and find the solution to the problems. So what are infections? Yesterday we said they are microorganisms, we can't see them, but they cause disease. They can be bacteria, they're fungal, or virus, or parasites. So we just generally call them infections, even though there can be infestations. There are more in tropical areas. Now, Nigeria is a tropical area. Why do we have more infections in tropical areas? Because tropical areas are hot, they are humid, and then a lot of countries that are in tropical areas are poor and there's a lot of ignorance. And when you have all the mix of this, there are a lot of infections. And these infections can actually be mild, like this boy here. Can you see this boy here? What do they call it in Hausa? What's the name of this disease that they have on their head in Hausa? All right. Then some people call it lapa lapa abi. So it's tinea, it's ringworm. It's very popular. It's very common. Once you go to a public school, maybe government school, primary school, you will see half of the pupils having lapa lapa. I'm calling it the normal way that people, so that, all right. So it can be mild as that, but it can be terrible, such that severe sepsis can shut down your lungs, shut down your kidneys, shut down your heart. So like this person is on something to keep him breathing, maybe it's on dialysis, all the organs have gone down because of infections, and that is severe sepsis. It also causes loss of productivity. A lot of money goes into infections, from the small antibiotics you take, to the admissions, to so many things. It's a lot of money. And then it causes a lot of deaths. If you remember this bubonic plague that they say black plague in maybe 1300s, it's caused by rats. It wiped out at that time 1/3 of the world. So when infections come like this, they become pandemic if we don't handle them well. So cholera, you've seen our issues with cholera. It can wipe up half of the children in a society, or even adults. Then the more recent one, HIV. There was a time, in fact, in Uganda, that East Africa, villages, maybe half of the adults were wiped out from HIV. And then, of course, nobody can tell you, we all experienced the COVID, causing a lot of discomfort and a lot of deaths. All right, in Nigeria, what do we have as the top 10 causes of death? From the age of 0 to even up to 120, they put them together. And if you find out, among the top 10, 6 of them are infections. We have malaria, pneumonia, that's lower respiratory infection, HIV, diarrheal disease, meningitis, tuberculosis. They are all infections caused by bacteria or viruses and everything. So cancer is even small, stroke is even small. This is what is killing Nigerians. At least this is 2019 data. Now, did you see in the list anybody saying typhoid? Remember, I'm here to also dispel myths and wrong beliefs. There's no disease called typhoid malaria. It's not the name of one disease. There is typhoid fever and there's malaria. And typhoid doesn't even feature among the top 10. It is not as common as we think. There's a lot of misdiagnosis, overdiagnosis, and people proudly own typhoid. If you come to the hospital, you see Mama or Baba Please, what is your problem? They'll say, Bando, when it chill, say they typhoid, the malaria, or something like that. It's only typhoid and malaria. There is usually nothing like that. Usually you may have malaria and commonly typhoid. There is typhoid, but it's not as popular as we want it to be. This is like they did a research. They have been doing many researches and many papers, and it has shown that typhoid is not as popular. It's just that the diagnosis of typhoid, we've been using Widal, and Widal is not the standard. In fact, a lot of people have phased out Widal because Widal is not at all. This is a paper, you may not be able to see it. What it says here is that it should rarely ever be used to make diagnosis of typhoid. We hardly use Widal because it has, you can have maybe typhoid a year ago. Because you have antibodies for it to fight the next one, it will still be showing as if you have typhoid. That is not the way they diagnose typhoid in modern terms. So I want us, who are COCIN, let's just agree that nobody has malaria. Is it typhoid or malaria, they say? We don't have it in this church in Jesus' name. All right, so let's go to the chain of transmission. So you can see, okay, you might not see the illustration there clearly. It's the organism, and it is reserved in a person or an animal, whatever the reservoir is. So let's say it's in the lungs of somebody, the person has pneumonia. So when the portal of exit, when the person coughs, it can come out from the nose and the mouth and be in the air. Or when he coughs and puts his hand, it can be in the hand. Then he goes and touches somebody and shakes you. You that is not having the disease, the mode of transportation is the mode of transmission can be directly either from the air or from touching you. And then you that touches the person, you now come and touch your face. The pathogen or the organism now enters you. So that's how it is. So infection prevention, what it tries to do is stops either the coming out. That's why if you have cough and catarrh, please put a mask and help us. Or if you're coughing, use some type of tissue and throw it away and wash your hands so that you don't spread it. So we look at the points of transmission and try and block it. So because it's that important, we're going to look at simple hygienic and sanitation practices. Hygiene and sanitation, you will see me mixing it. Hygiene is just the personal things you will do with yourself and your body to prevent infection. And then sanitation is what we will do as a community or for the environment. But I'll be using them interchangeably. Now, it has been discovered that the single most important practice to reduce infection is hygiene. And it's so cheap, so cost effective. You don't have to go and buy big drugs, Cipro, Augmentin. Just be hygienic and do those sanitary practices. It actually, once you do that, it protects you and it also prevents epidemics. That's why COVID may not be able to spread if you're doing those things. You can see what we have been doing. So it prevents the growth or the expansion of epidemics. So it's so simple and so cost effective. Why don't people do it? There are many reasons. It's a question I want you to think in your mind. It's just like salvation, which is very free, but people take it for granted. It's not. But if I say, bring cow, bring 4-inch TV, bring a white goat, people would think that is where salvation is. So this is how hygienic and sanitary practice is so simple, and it has been proven over and over again, but people don't do it. So we're going to start the general, and I will be fast. We'll start with hygiene of our bodies. Everybody takes a shower or a bath. We Africans take it more than the Caucasians. Remember, we said in Africa, in tropical regions, we have more organisms because they like heat and moisture. So we tend to take it, but the least you can take it is once in every day. So you can take today and skip tomorrow, depending on what you do. Some people are sweaty, some people are oily, some people maybe are menstruating or this, but they might have to take it off more often. But if you take it every other day, you have not sinned against God. So we also have dental hygiene. Now I will leave it for the dentists because they are experts in it. But the only thing I will say is that you're supposed to brush twice. morning and evening. I know a lot of people that will say they will confess and say they don't do that. So for me, the easiest way, if I have to do it because I'm very lazy, or I'll be on my computer, I'll just carry chewing stick and put it in my mouth and be working on my computer. Chewing sticks have actually been found to do the mechanical brushing and has some chemicals, but the ideal is a toothbrush and your toothpaste. Then flossing, it's better to floss than use a toothpick. Then that's your toothbrush. Do you know that you should change your toothbrush 3 to 4 times a year? I know somebody, an elderly uncle of mine, say he has been using his toothbrush for more than 5 years. Please change it 3 or 4 times a year. Abi? Respiratory hygiene. Respiratory hygiene is you that has the issue, you don't want to spread it. So you have cough or you have pneumonia or you even have catarrh. The first thing about respiratory hygiene is protect. Don't let the organism come out and get to people. So you use a face mask. If you need to cough or sneeze, you use a disposable tissue is far better than hanky, because if it's hanky, you put it, you hold it, you put it in your pocket, it still spreads. So you use a disposable napkin and bin it, then wash your hand. But if you cannot or you don't have, there's this thing they call the vampire cough. So when you cough into your elbows, I'm sure you've heard of it, or sneezing, so that it won't be on your hand and you now start shaking people, Abby. So you just at the junction of your hand. So those are the things. And then if you feel you are infected, you have those things, please stay at home. You don't have to come to a crowded area. That's all about respiratory hygiene. Then first aid. This one I'm going to say it. Every home, particularly if you have children. In fact, every human beings are not perfect. We have accidents. You must have first aid in your house. It mustn't be a box, but there are some things you should look at that you should have. When somebody has cuts or bruise or puncture, this is not the time for anointing oil. Kunji, it's not anointing oil. I know Christians do that a lot. We have seen that a lot. Anointing oil will not help in this matter. Please don't urinate on that wound. Urine, we've heard a lot and we've seen a lot. Don't pour saliva. They'll say there's antibodies inside. No, don't do that. And then worse, don't even open Ampiclox capsule and pour on the tin as prevention of infection. No, it doesn't work. And it will even cause more problems. The first thing you can do with all those things, water is the best thing. Running clean water. Put that place under water. Let it wash away any surface dirt or possible organisms that want to stay there. Water is first aid for most of these things. Then after that, you can cover the wound. And then in very rare cases, we don't even need it. You use a mild antibiotic cream. So that's we'll rush through. Hey, 17 minutes. Let's see how we'll go. All right. Then clothing material. No sharing of personal material. No sharing of towels. Towels, when you're doing those, don't you bring it towards your bum and bring it towards your genital to clean. It's your personal towel. Don't share it. And there are a lot of things that can be passed between one person and another. Don't share your toothbrush. We have said that. Then other intimate ways. In 2022, nobody needs to tell us not to share underwear, but no sharing of underwears. And sports clothing, this is very important. Boys, men share boots when they go to football. This is the one cause of athlete's foot, fungal disease of this thing, sharing of the feet, sharing sports material, jerseys. In fact, it's in sports that you do a lot of friction. So if the person has virus or bacteria or this infection, either obvious or not too obvious, it will rub, because you know they are very active, friction, they can stay on the shirt, and when you use it, it can pass to somebody. Then the cleaning and the changing, the law is the closer the material is to your body, the more frequent you should wash it. So you know that your underwear should be washed every day because it's the most intimate thing to your body. Then things like sweater or coat that stays, you wear a shirt before you wear the suit. Maybe you can even do 2 weeks or so before you wash it. But that's how it is. Underwears and socks is daily. So I advise men should have like 7 socks for every day. In fact, different designs so that you know this one is Monday socks, this and this. You're not, because those areas, the pubic area is warm and moist. It's the same thing with in between your feet. You can harbor things there. And towels, you need to keep on drying them. It's advisable to have 2 so that you use one today, the other one will be drying, and then you use the other. Then it's recommended you wash it once every week. Nail hygiene. The young women and the women, don't be eyeing me now, it's our time. Long nails are very fine, Abby. All of us must have it during wedding, Abby. We must do artificial paint and everything. It's good, it's very beautiful, I like it. So nails, normal nails, any nails, artificial or normal, they can keep some specific organisms. Fungal, like candida, and even methylene resistant staph aureus, very stubborn. This, I used to call it Mr. SA, MRSA, very stubborn to treat. And pinworms. Pinworms, because it's a pediatric thing, a type of worms that affect anybody but more of children. The pinworm will come out and lay eggs around the anus. So when you see a child waking up and crush, scratching themselves, you should be thinking, maybe there's pinworm. So you have to give anti-worm, right? So when they scratch like that, it stays under their nails and they can pass it to different people. Avoid biting or chewing your nails because this place harbors a lot of things. When you go to the nail bar or nail salon, they are cutting cuticles. Please, the cuticle is to protect organisms from entering. Most of you want to remove those. Say, bring your cuticle remover, you bring. You understand? But sometimes they do it without causing injury. Once anything is exposed, that's where things like whitlow and other things can enter. Nails, shots, and now, this is very nice nails, Abby. Even me, I was jealous of them. Very fine and nice and long. So this is a study or a report. This was 1997. 2 nurses that had long nails had an infection that killed 16 babies in their SCV in Chicago. These nails, artificial is even worse. The longer they are, and you work with those type of people, like children, because children are more susceptible, you can spread diseases. So it can be fine, but it might not be healthy depending. For younger years, once in a while, you can do it if you know you're not dealing with people that can get infections and have severe. Now I finished with women, let's move to men. All right. So men, what about their beards? There's a new fashion that people are keeping Jesus like beards, Abby. All right, so for beards, do you know, in those days, army people don't put beards. Doctors, they don't even allow you put beards. In fact, when I was in medical school, it's a crime to keep beard or mustache. There's one professor, Dr. Odiki. If you're a medical student, male, who gave you right to have beard? Are you mad? If you come to his ward round, you say, okay, since you have got, you think you're a man, you can keep beards. Tell us the blood supply to this beard. You just stand there because you wouldn't even know. It's a big question. So we don't allow, but they've done series of studies, many studies. They found out there's actually no difference between people that keep beards, that's the type of bacteria, and people. In fact, in one study, they found out people that were clean shaven had resistant MRSA staph than people that kept beards. If you keep your beards neat, dry, you understand, wash at least 3 times a week, there's no problem. There's no significant infection that it can cause. So it's not an infection risk. So we go to the main thing, hand washing. Hand washing is one of the things, in fact, the main thing that will stop you from getting infection. In a day, you touch your face more than 20 times. They have done so many studies, some 26. They did a study on doctors, medical students, more than 23 times per hour, not even day. It's per hour. Your hand goes to your face. And this is where most of the orifices that are taking infection, your nose, your eyes, your mouth, and you keep on touching them more than 20 times an hour. How do we stop this? Because you don't even think when you're doing it. You either do like this, or you do like this, or you do like this, or you know, something. So the main thing is get into the habit of hand washing. Hand washing with soap and water actually reduces the load of organisms. So when do we wash our hands? Before and during, or after preparation of food, before eating the food, after caring for a sick person. There's a story I heard while I was a medical student. I finished from ABU. They had two campuses. There's a doctor in Kaduna, a female pediatrician. Somebody came to her house. She was helping now. Temoko. The person had, I think, a rash or something. She brought her baby. As she saw the baby in her house, the woman went. She wrote drugs. The woman got treated. The baby is fine. Her own child got that. The child wasn't even there. But maybe touching that child, then later touching her own child got that disease and died. So hand washing is very important, particularly you health workers, vets and everything, to prevent you getting it or spreading it to your loved ones or other people. So also after washing toilets, after changing diapers, blowing your nose, touching animals, handling pet food, and touching garbage. So there is a standard way of washing hands. The WHO recommended that at least a good hand washing session is more than 20 seconds. Of course, you won't put time and be looking, hey, 20 seconds. You will, the song, Happy Birthday to You, if you sing it once, it's about 20 seconds. So once you wash your hand, and these are the steps, you can see the pictures. That one will take real training, but it's everywhere in the internet. Please, let's go and learn it. You wash forward, you wash inside like this, wash like this. You make sure you do your thumbs, make sure you do your, so that's why the tip. We all have phones, we can find it. Food and kitchen safety. We need clean hands and utensils. Our surface, work surface should be clean. The kitchen work surface and the kitchen is one of the dirtiest things in terms of bacterial load. Keep hot food always hot. Once you cook a food and it's going to be 2 hours outside, more than 2 hours, you put it in the fridge. And cold things should remain cold. Then this picture. What is this that they wrote team A and team B? Who knows? Are you pretending you don't know? You see, I've seen people that are doing ASO. All right. Who likes soaking gari with groundnuts but no milk? Who is in that team A? These are reasonable. Why will you put milk to spoil the taste now? If you're taking gari, take the real team. So there's a small story. You people will give me 5 minutes more because I'll just rush through it. So there's a small story. I was going for a course, I think 6 weeks in Israel. And one of my friends, she's from the south, in Jideka. I said, they told us when we were going out of the country, carry gari or kuli or granola. She said, no, she doesn't take gari. I said, okay. We that will take gari. Once in a while, I like it. Cold water, I'll put kuli or groundnut. We went to Israel now. She was eating salad, lentils, hummus. That first day, they'll give you plenty meat. You eat, you'll be enjoying. Second week, she was enjoying. Third week, by second week, I said, kai. Let me just go back to my career and groundnuts. I will soak small. By third week, I heard her knocking on my door one evening. Ruth, please, that your gari, do you have small? I said, I thought you don't take gari. So gari is very important in our diets. So it's just our diet. Why I'm showing this is that it is a very ready meal, like a very fast meal. You don't have to cook or anything. But do you know, this way, either that it is stored, and who travels and you see grains on the road like this? We see it all over Nigeria. It disposes us to pests. And the most important one that Nigerian is known for is Lassa fever. Because gari, you eat it, that you just use cold water, nothing kills the bacteria. If it were with eba, fast, it actually, the heat will kill viruses, bacteria, it will dampen their power or kill them. But gari is one of the things they are linking to Lassa fever. And indeed, I can't remember, was it 20? Is Chief Yogan here? I think either 2017 or 2018, there was an outbreak in FGC Langtang. 17 girls were brought to EPU in June. with Lassa. And of course, me, I just thought, it can happen to any ready-to-eat food. Maybe biscuits, rats entered, they either urinated or chopped small or passed feces, and you ate it directly, no heating. It can cause Lassa fever. I think we lost 2 girls out of those 17 girls. So Lassa is with us in Nigeria. So what you do, protect your food. You can see these third things, put them in plastic, tight, sealed container. Now we'll go to toilet hygiene and habits. So the first thing in Plateau, everybody knows us. Bar toilets is very bad. It's something to be ashamed of. When you're building, that's the first thing. Build a toilet. When you have a toilet, remember we said moisture. Anywhere there's humidity and moisture, bacteria will like. Ventilate, open windows, ventilate it. When you want to flush, for the people that always have water, always close the lid, because once you flush, they found particles, fecal particles have even been 6 feet away, even on brushes. You know, you put your brush on the sink. They have seen plenty cashy brush, the head of the brush, from flushing. So the best thing, unfortunately, some of us, and that will even do it worse. So shut your lid. Then when you're cleaning, plus men, not only women, clean, wipe from front to back. Plus men, it's inconvenient. Because men also, there are other things that are done with the phallus. You have partners. If you keep on wiping from front and there's hair there, you just clump fecal matter, and that can be a harbinger of infection. There's nothing like toilet disease. Are you surprised? Please, there's actually fungal, bacteria, and they are not passed by toilets. I don't know why Nigerians believe that it passed. Very rarely those fungal come from toilets. Then spend limited time in the toilet. Toilet captains, I know I'm number one. Once you see me carrying my phone, you know, you just feel, you're not doing anything in the toilet. Let's just be looking at Twitter on the toilet. You're not supposed to spend more than 10 minutes in the toilet. There's so many side effects when you sit down on the toilet. It gives you a bad toilet habit. The vessels there, you tend to have constipation. Then your phone and your inside, your phone will tend to get bacteria and the rest and all that. Your toilet and bathroom should be washed weekly using cleaner and disinfectants. Apart from the toilet, there are 5 things dirtier than the toilet. Seats. If you see your chopping board in the kitchen, they've done this thing, they swabbed it, a lot of microorganisms. Your phone, the toilet, kitchen. Your kitchen sponge, they have found out, has a lot of bacteria, that kitchen rag or cloth. So what do? You try and wash your sponge in hot water for 2 minutes every week. That one is even better because you tell it. Phones have found out to be very dirty. In fact, many studies have shown more than 10 times they swab the toilet seat and swab the phone. They have found that 18 times more bacteria on the phone than on the toilet seat. In fact, 1 in every 6 phones, they've been able to see raw cashew occurring. So real fecal matter. So because you either go with it, even when you don't go with it, you go to the toilet, then you come handle your phone and all that. So these are the reasons why our phones have more bacteria. Unfortunately, as I said, Plateau tops. In fact, Nigeria has the worst record of open defecation. I told you, no toilets. And Plateau, was it Chiefest Bamwat? It was 2019 that we got the award for open defecation. Am I lying? Plateau open defecation. We are, how much? We're almost 4 million, 2.4 million. So that cashier, they'll just come and do either, what do they call it, short put, go to squat somewhere and everything. But I think as of last year, Kwara came before us. I think Kwara was 64% of their people, then Plateau, 61% of us, we do open defecation. All right, this is open defecation. We're used to this site. Bakunya, just anywhere. You understand? It's actually toilet. Toilet. Actually, the use of toilet is to keep away organisms so that you won't see bad things. You won't smell bad things. And it's just morally decent. In fact, they've started reporting it. UN started reporting it in Plateau. It was in India. People that don't have toilets, have increased risk of being raped, they are girls. They are doing it now in IDP camp and in some villages in Plateau. So it is a measure of societal cleanliness. Open defecation, all studies have shown when they say systematic review, is a result of poor upbringing. So if you easily want to pull outside, poverty is your problem. Bad orientation, bad upbringing, poor hygiene mentality, illiteracy. I want to believe us in COCIN we're not like that. Abi? So who knows this road? Who knows this road? Who can tell me where I took this picture? Nobody. This, Nunku Road. One guess. Yes, ma'am. Methodist. I know. JMDB side. That means we all know where the cathedrals of Doti are in this country. We have big cathedrals at Jos, Abi. But this is not it. This one, as I was leaving, I said, hey, I'm going to talk. Let me give a practical example. This is 5 minutes, 10 minutes was from Government House. Just before Shunko Junction. This pile is here. The whole gutter has packed up. It's even splitting. As I was taking the picture, I was doing like this. It's horrible. Do you know that? I said, okay, let me start counting open. I and my sister, open dumping from Air Force. That road, the Air Force, is that Air Force roundabout before Millionaires Quarters to Government House. That's our road home. I said, let's start counting. 7 big dumps on the most powerful road in Jos. Air Force is there. Deputy Governor's office is there. Governor's office is there. 7 open dumps. We don't have community shame. We don't have collective shame as a state. It is a nuisance and it is wrong. Very wrong. So how do we do hygiene in public places? When you are ill, as we said, keep away from public places. When you have a tendency to be ill, like pregnant, children under 5, elderly people, don't go to places like hospital. I will see all these women, they will back newborn babies that they are coming to visit. What are you doing in emergency that we have all sorts of diseases, sepsis? You will say, and the nurse will be saying, go, they will be pushing, they must come and visit. What is your problem? Your child will be ill and die. What do you want? You understand? Okay. Control of animals, slaughtering, our abattoirs, market sanitation. These are public and community hygienic responses. Then, first aid facilities, we've talked about it, they should be in public places. Immunization is our responsibility to protect ourselves, our children. When COVID came, we were running away from immunization, even me at the beginning. But it's a collective responsibility. Once you're immunized, it gives us herd immunity. It protects another person. And then this thing that we use antibiotic for everything, antibiotic, is reducing the power of the antibiotics. The organisms are getting used to it. Kata is just virus. Just be patient. In 3 days, just be using steam, use Procold and everything. No, if you don't give it, you're an enemy. These are the things that cause resistance and cause us to have infections. So I'm rounding up now. The religious and infection. Do you know there are, so I was preparing for this, I went to check. There are actually papers that show religious people tend to have more infections. That why? And the reasons are they are more gullible. They take spirituality. They are more gullible and they think it's spirituality. They are actually, a lot of very religious people are poor. Poverty of the pocket. Remember, further malaria is associated with poverty. You don't know what to do and you don't have the power to do it. Then crowding, because religious houses, there are a lot of people. And there's some specific rituals, like using Holy Communion, the same for everybody, you understand? And then they are the ones that are more likely to say, oh, there's God, it will happen. We're not going to use alcohol. We're not using hand sanitizer. God will protect us. So they said religious people have more risk for infections. Now, these are paper studies that I checked. Tina pedis, that fungal of defeat. Many papers, Spain, UK, South Africa, one other this thing. They found that people that go to mosque, they compare them with even workers in the hospital, they tend to have more fungal on the feet. Why? They rug, they remove their feet, they go put, maybe somebody wears somebody else's slippers. They found that it's more in this study, more in the Muslim community. What of the paper that shows that communion cup, that one that they share, it passes a lot of infection. Infections are sometimes associated with religious rituals. Now let's talk of our church. We want to thank God for COCIN headquarters. I'm very proud when I started looking at all the things that we should do hygienically and sanitation-wise. We don't have that issue of communion. Or do we share and they'll say, okay, move, move, move. No, we don't do that. We have our individual cups and that protects us. We have minimal railings. I checked the railings. Even the ones, particularly in Sunday school, are high. They are not meant for, if the railings are low, as you're walking, you just be touching them. But they are high, so they're just meant for protection. You have minimal, even if you go up, you have minimal contact with them. The ones that are accessible, please don't always put your hand there except you really need support. And then, of course, the sanctuary cleaners, I'm sure, always wipe down after or between services. Then we don't use prayer mats, like we said. We don't remove it. There are some Christian churches that remove their shoes outside, but we don't have that, so we thank God. We also have we've complied by COVID, and that COVID being compliant is also for other infections. We use hand sanitizer or wash our hands, mask, and all that. And then if you're too sick, there's even virtual church on YouTube. You don't have to come to church. You can do your religion. You understand? We use masks also. And then we have a powerful sanctuary cleaning team. In fact, they are the key to our sanitation. I see them at the toilet. Please, let's give them a hand. These people, they are always hidden, but they are doing a very good job. Somebody enters, they go, they flush, they do this. They are seated there. They are doing a lot. And it's a good place to also serve if you think you're called to do such a thing. It needs humility again and love for people. Then health education programs like this that helps the church, it helps us know things. And then we have a good clinic with first aid measures. You have this, you have our water, we have our hygiene, we have those small, small things. So what is left? Powerful hygienic practices in COCIN headquarters. The only thing is left is that we are so diverse. We have politicians, we have leaders, we have upcoming governors. We don't demand of them. You can see those bowlers go. It's also our responsibilities as this is where they feed spiritually. We should be able to press their neck. You cannot be governor, you cannot be commissioner, and there's bowler all over Plateau State, even on your street. This is our job, to have a collective concern and then make demands from these people in our midst, right? That's the only thing left. So in conclusion, we know infections, we can easily get them as we move around, and simple hygienic practices that the ones we just talked about can prevent it. Now that you know these truths on hygiene, we have individual responsibility and collective responsibility to seek more, because I told you this is just there's so many things about hygiene and sanitation. Why not to use Savlon? You shouldn't use it on this. When to use bleach when you're bathing. Some people are constantly on antibiotic, or is it antibacterial soap? It's not good for the skin. So there are still more things that you go deep, 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 seek more of the truth. When you find it, practice it. Spread it, tell somebody, no, Anche, people should not be doing this. No, you understand? And then make collective demand, as we said. And thank you very much for not sleeping.
Praise the Lord. Are there questions? Yeah, sure. Please, because of time, we may just take like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we'll take 5 questions from each room. Please just take note. Okay, can we start from here? Is there any? Okay, sure. Then this roll, yes, ma'am.
Doctor, well, thank you very much for your presentation. We went out for outreach one time in Mikang, and those that came before us, I remember the Professor Matilda Bamwat was there. They come for doctors to see them, but we see them first, we the lay people. And what they tell us is we have toilet infection. And I asked, do you have toilet? They will say no. How then did you get a toilet infection? I don't know. But I don't know the answer to give them. Is it really toilet infection or something else? Because they had similar, answer to give us. What's wrong with you? Toilet infection. What's wrong with you? Toilet infection. And when you ask, do you have toilet? No, we don't have toilet. So what was wrong with them? Please. Evening all. Thank you for that presentation. Very wonderful one. We educated ourselves so much on infection prevention and how to manage. But then there's this issue of handsets. I'm so concerned about it because maybe you are attending to an infectious case and then there are calls coming and you need to handle your handset, communicate and continue managing. How much do you think you can be able to prevent infection in respect to that? And then another aspect that I also want to ask has to do with hand washing. Because hand washing prevents infection and it's very, very crucial. And there are cases like in the hospital. I just want to really see how much can be done because some people here work there and then as well when we are on duty in the clinic, you have to wash hands very often. You showed us, we were able to see some of those ways we can wash our hands. But then the level of hand washing is my concern. What if you are handling very infectious and then you are outreach, maybe a long outreach? Because sometimes hand washing extends to the elbow. And so that is where I really want us, because people here need to know, because some of them take care of infectious cases at home and even in the hospital. So those are the cases that I really would like you to maybe help educate some of us. Thank you.
Okay. I think okay, sure. Upstairs. Okay. Another hand.
All right. Good evening, Judge.
I don't think I'll do justice if I allow you to talk. I gave each role just one.
There's nobody on the row here.
Sure. Okay.
All right. Thank you. The question I want to ask is, while I was in Akwa Ibom a while ago, we noticed that there were several cases of rape for small children. And most of the children, at the end of the day, even if they were served justice in the court, they still go back home with a lot of infections. All right. And if they ask them, why didn't you take them to the hospital, they'll say they don't have money. So is there a way that parents can actually be able to, like say, help in those kind of cases? Maybe if a case of rape was reported, maybe if they can't handle going to hospitals, is there a way they can actually help in the treatment? Maybe a particular remedy or something they can do, because these cases arise every day. Thank you.
Okay, so yes, we don't know what the next person that had it. So your job is to have your hand sanitizer. Since you cannot tell and control, your own job is to protect yourself. Have your hand sanitizers. When you use this thing, when you use the mic, don't always bring your see, mommy has brought out her hand sanitizer. Don't always put it around your face and wash your hand anytime you can, as frequently as possible. Then toilet infection, the most common thing they call toilet infection is a fungal, a yeast, candida. That can even, it actually lives with us, particularly in the female genital area. But the problem is, sometimes when your immunity is low, or the thing maybe grows because you're using too much tights without airing the place. Fungi loves moisture. The thing grows plenty. And once it grows plenty, you will now go to pharmacy or chemist. They will now say it's infection and give you antibiotics. The more you use antibiotics clears the normal friendly bacteria. Once you have your friendly bacteria, it fights off diseases, the fungal. You're killing them. Every day you're taking antibiotics, you're killing the friendly bacteria, and those fungal will be coming. And that's why you keep on having it every day. The candida stays with us. Sometimes, even just sitting, taking your bath and sitting down, maybe in a guest hostel, on a bed of somebody that has candida can give you, it's not necessarily toilet infection. In fact, the main cause is suppressing the friendly bacteria and making the fungal grow more. So these antibiotics we take for everything is also a problem. Is it okay, ma'am? Yes. So you have to educate them, and then we usually treat for the candida. Then handset during calls, yes. So the IT people Uncle Iswa will now tell us there's a way you clean your phone. I think with 70% alcohol. The way you do your hand washing, you should also clean your phone inside and all that thing to prevent you carrying that phone home with everything you do. And then keep your phones away. I'm very guilty. In fact, I think almost all health workers here. We don't have intercom in the hospital. They'll need you here. The ward needs you. It's your phone you use. You can't keep it away. So we should do something to prevent us carrying infections from home. And they advise that you should frequently clean it with 70% alcohol. It's all right to do that. Is that okay, ma'am? Then hospital infection. Is that the same question? Okay, Gary. Yes. So once you get your Gary, store it in the problem is the rats in the house. Even if you have those friendly rats, nobody should have rats in the house. They're the ones that will go and call the bush rats to come and help. Then you put them in sacks and they can easily get it. They have the possibility of infecting your Gari with Lassa. So if you keep it in tight sealed containers, you will be all right. No problem. And it can stay for months and years as far as it's dry. And when it's dry, hey, Gary has a problem. When they bring it, you say, hey, it's not dry. You now spread it. Another invitation for Lassa rats to come. You understand? So buy very dry Gary and store it. This is why I've answered your Gary question. The rape. Rape is a very sad story. There's rape everywhere. And one of the things again is this open defecation, which is very bad. Somebody, instead of having the privacy of toilets, even children, there are mad people everywhere. When there's a rape, it's a teamwork. The social worker, the legal people, nursing care, the pediatricians, the O&G people is not. So once there's a rape person, even if it's PHC, you need to put all these things together. It's very, to me, I'm finding it difficult to say that they couldn't get the treatment. Because there's this group, even the lawyers, what they call M1. We've had this thing. M1 takes it as if it's a mission. They will pay for the person, they will prosecute the case and everything. So it would be very odd to say that they didn't have treatment because they're not very expensive antibiotics. It's the common ones. We just want to cover for the possibility of the main sexually transmitted diseases. And even penicillin is okay, Cipro, one or two things, and they are not too expensive. The other things is that you must do maybe do a baseline HIV and all those things, hepatitis, or if to catch the abuser. You have to do it for him if he's a child, so that you know if the child has possibility. So there's help everywhere for rape. So you will always find maybe the people don't know where to go. Then, please, is it good to keep shoes outside the door and close the door? So is it good to keep shoes outside the door? It depends on what can be in what your shoes can be exposed to. We've heard of snakes inside shoes. Once you keep it and close your door and maybe go to sleep. We've heard of scorpions. But if you air your shoes, it's the best practices. You should find a time to sun them and air them. But the main thing is it has nothing to do with bacteria keeping your shoes outside. It's only that if somebody else comes to take your shoe and the person has fungal or issues, warts or something, they can easily give it to you. Have you relayed the message? Because it came from that side. Yes, all right. Toilet infection, can it affect men too? Candida will not affect men, but men are carriers. So you can be with somebody sexually that has candida, and you can now take it because there are microorganisms you can't see and dash your wife. Abi? So, but the men will not usually have that itching and all that. It's the females that have what we call the vulvovaginitis from candida. Although you can have candida skin disease, not the vaginal thing. Candida can affect men, human beings on the skin, children and everything, but that one in the private part is usually women that have it. Answer, Abby? All right, I think that's all. Okay, ma'am.
Sorry, Mrs. Lord. That question is very good, that toilet infection, because there are many people that are hiding behind it. They may have serious problems in the private part, then they will, especially the young girls, and then they will portray to the parents and say, hey, no, but they said it's toilet infection. Sometimes we may need to probe further to find out how much toilet infection is there. Recently, I had a patient, a relation of my husband, and I think she had CA cervix, and they kept saying at home that it's toilet infection. So I went. I said, let's come to Juth. Now we went. At the end of, because she was smelling all over and all that, and she was claiming she stayed in Bayelsa. She moved to Abuja. She moved to, and all that, staying there to work. And then she came back with toilet infection. But at the end of the day, it's not even the toilet infection. So sometimes we may need to understand, because young girls play around, and if you are an ignorant mama or parents, they may have severe infection there and they'll tell you that it's toilet. Why? Because the denial syndrome in respect to sexually transmitted infection would be the coexisting problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Concerning that, I will tell you that it's personal hygiene. Most of the times, these problems have to do with personal hygiene. You know,